on the radio highway.
Only one lane rules Friday nights.
And that's Car Talk.
Car Talk
with Jacob Moshokao.
Only on Cape Talk.
Starting things off a little easy here. I remember a couple of weeks ago telling my producer Amber, we need to do a Bakkie discussion here on the show. And I can't even remember what was the reason. But I decided that a conversation about Bakkies is very important because 10, 12, 15 years ago, the best-selling cars in the country were not Bakkies. But now, over the past 5 to 10 years, Bakkies have essentially become a natural and normal thing in our households. Specifically, the Toyota Hilux Bakkie, the Ford Ranger Bakkie, and of course, the Isuzu D-Max. But a recent report has now released the best-selling Bakkies are in the order that I told you. Toyota Hilux being the best, Ford Ranger the second best, Isuzu D-Max the third best, Mahindra being the fourth best, and GWMP series cutting off the top 5. Bakkies are now a natural thing. You see them parked on the pavements. You see them at every festival you go to. You see them on the long road when you're traveling on the long road. And I thought, who better to chat to about this topic? He's a 4x4 expert. His social media is always buzzing with 4x4 adventures. I thought, let me give somebody I've always followed for many years who knows the car game very well, specifically the Bakkies, Dieter Pay. I thought, let me give him a call. Dieter, a 4x4 expert, thank you so much for joining us on Cape Talk. How's it?
Perfect, thank you. It's good to be here.
Lekker. First of all, tell us what you do. How did you become a 4x4 expert?
I basically fell into motorsport. My family has been into motorsport, and then it just turned into off-roading. I grew up on a farm out in Paarl. Just grew up on a farm, fell in love with Bakkies, fell in love with 4x4ing, camping, and the snowball just kept falling or kept rolling from there. And
now you rolling into doing 4x4 adventures. What were the most recent adventures that you got up to?
Yeah, so the most recent adventure was actually quite a fun one. I was in Australia. I just landed yesterday, and I went to a 4x4 competition there. So it's a big Australian 4x4 competition. And actually, on the topic of Bakkies, I got to drive the all-new Kia Tasman, which is not available in South Africa yet, but in Australia. So yeah, I was there for about 2 weeks and literally landed yesterday morning.
Wow, fantastic. I don't think I could have gotten a better person, right, Amber? This is the best guy for the conversation. So I'm already booking you, Dieter. Once we have the Tasman on our local streets, I'm going to have you come back and give us your opinion on the Kia Tasman. I'm actually looking forward to hearing about that car. Now, let's switch the conversation up a little and talk about, did you think that, 10 odd years ago, that Bakkies would be so popular now, come 2025?
No, I don't think people thought that. I think you'd always suspect your sedans and your normal vehicles to be popular, as usually they should. But I think it just kind of grew with how South Africa grew and how the industry grew. It was actually quite interesting. After COVID, a lot of the off-road and the camping and the outdoor scene just exploded. I think people were tired of being stuck inside and just wanted to escape. And with that came vehicles that you need to be able to go on adventures. And I think it's also just a safety aspect. A lot of people want to drive a bigger vehicle. They feel more safe in the traffic, being pushed around by other vehicles. If you drive I've got a Subaru Impreza, which is a small sports car. And if I drive with that on the roads, I get bullied around a lot by the bigger vehicles, the trucks, the Bakkies, the vans, things like that. But as soon as I drive my Hilux, I kind of don't get bullied around that much. So I think that's a big aspect. And also just knowing you can drive over a pavement, or if you want to park on the side of the road, you can do that. Or if there's some construction and you need to drive on a piece of gravel, you can do that with comfort. So I think that kind of just grew into the lifestyle of South Africans and globally. I've seen it globally trending where bigger vehicles are just becoming more of a thing.
And obviously now, me mentioning the best-selling Bakkies in September 2025 and Hilux being the top seller, that's no surprise, is it?
Not really. It is kind of I think it's just a loyalty thing. So I know Hilux is very popular due to it being reliable. I know it is very expensive and you get very little out of it. So it's always interesting for me reading articles about people raving about the new GWM with all the fancy features, and then they come back to a Hilux which is similar in price, but it's got almost half of the features that the GWM has, the Hilux doesn't have. But again, it comes in brand loyalty, especially in South Africa. The people love the Toyotas, and the Toyotas also hold their value. So it ends up being a good investment. I mean, I've got my Hilux. I bought mine in COVID. It's in 2020. It's a 2013 year model. I've driven about 100,000 kilometers on it. It's just under 300,000 kilometers on the Odo. I can probably resell it for the same value I bought it 4 years later. I can resell it for the same value. So it holds its value well. So it's kind of a purchase where you buy something at a high value. It is expensive to buy once off. But once you have it and the new model comes out, you can trade it in for a high value, and your up payment for the new model is much less because it holds its value that well.
But now, Dieter, double cabs are, of course, a thing for a lot of families. And I think there's the forgotten child here, and it's the smaller Bakkies. I remember the 14 Clipper, the Nissan Champ being something special, the Bantam being very special, and now more modern, the NP200 and the likes. What happened there? Why is it that market seemed to have dipped?
That's a very good question, and I actually don't have the answer about that. It's a question I have, and I still want to ask the manufacturers. I mean, it's such a popular, or it's a good idea that I myself had a little Corsa, the little Corsa
utility,
point. Yes, and it was an amazing vehicle. It was light on fuel. It had the load space in the back to carry things. It was just an amazing vehicle. And I know I was recently in Argentina, and the streets there are littered with all these little half-ton vehicles. You get a Duster version, little Renault half-ton. You get it looks like a Polo. It really looks like a Polo from the front, and you come to the back, and it's got a little Bakkie Sexton on the back of it. And like all those cars are so, I think would do really well in our market. So I really also don't know why it isn't more popular here. I think the manufacturers kind of slowly faded it out because they want their big Bakkie market to do better. That's the kind of theory I have. But honestly, if there are any manufacturers listening, there's such a big gap in the market for that. It'll take over the vans. It's just, big market available that I think is untouched.
I definitely agree with you there. Dieter Pay, that's all the time we have. A 4x4 expert. Thank you so much for joining us on Cape Talk, brother. Take it easy.
Perfect. Thank you.
There we go. His name is Dieter Pay, telling us a little more about why Bakkies, double cabs, have become so famous in South Africa. And the poor little half-tonners, the poor little Nissan NP200s and the Corsa utilities, they're just not doing it anymore. And it is something that we need to ask a lot of the manufacturers. He's right. A Renault Duster Bakkie is quite common in the Americas. That's South America, North America. And I remember my days when I went to Brazil a couple of years ago. VW has a little car called the VW Saviero. And it's also a little Corsa utility looking Bakkie or Nissan NP200 looking Bakkie. It's a workhorse that any company would jump on. It's a workhorse that any family would jump on. If you're having a wedding or a funeral, there's always that uncle who has one of those Bakkies, and that helps them out no matter what. I wonder why the manufacturers decided to turn against those cars and rather concentrate on the likes of the double cabs. This conversation will definitely continue here because we ask the right questions on Car Talk with Jacob Moshokao.